Hello everyone, I'll start with a brief self-introduction. My name is Oula. I graduated in 2019 from Kyoto University's master program in urban management, and I've been working since at a construction consultant company called Oriental Consultants Global. And today I'm going to explain to you the step-by-step process that I followed to get my current job. So starting with the timeline. Many people mistakenly think that job hunting in Japan starts in April, 1 year before graduation. But I would like to add to your information that most Japanese graduates sort of start their job hunting process 2 years before graduation, and that is through summer and winter internships. For summer internships, the application is in May, July, and the implementation is in August and September. Winter internships tend to be shorter, so both the application and the implementation is from November to February. And job hunting itself will start from February through these following steps. There is company briefing sessions, entry sheets, and interviews. I'll be going through each one of these steps later on in detail, and the whole process usually ends in June. However, some companies may continue until August or September. And just one thing to note is that these application rounds of entry sheet, interview, some companies tend to have up to 3 applications rounds. For example, if you apply for the first round, like you submit your internship, you submit your entry sheet in March, for example, you'll have your interview in April, your final reply by May. And for example, if you apply for the second deadline and you submit your entry sheet in April, you'll have your interview in May and your final reply by June. I would just recommend that, of course, you choose the first round and apply there so that you can have your acceptance or your rejection as soon as possible. So how does this concern you, guys? If you are a 2023 graduate, which means that this April, you will start your 3rd year of bachelor, 1st year of master's, or 2nd year of PhD, or you already started this in October 2020. In this case, you have plenty of time to brush up your Japanese and tackle each one of these steps. So for example, this summer, you can start applying for internships, and next winter, you can do your winter internships and then start your job hunting process on February next year. If you are a 2022 graduate, which means that in April, so this is April 2021, you will start your B4, M2, or D3, or you started these already in October 2020. In this case, the clock is ticking. It's already February, so you should already be looking for company briefing sessions, preparing to submit your entry sheets, and then you'll be having your interviews this summer. However, if you graduate this April in 2021, like this March, it's a bit too late to do the job hunting process this way, but of course you can still find a job through other methods, which I'll be talking about very briefly later on. So we have, I laid down the process here, but now I'll be talking about each one of these steps, from summer internships, winter internships, to job hunting. So summer internships. You can get these regardless of your Japanese level, so don't be discouraged, just go for it. And the thing that I'd like to note is that in most of our countries, summer internships last from 1 to 3 months, and the purpose is usually to get a job at a company or get working experience and add some extra value to your CV. But in general, in Japan, I mean, you can still have this in Japan, but in general, it's different. The internships are like from 1 day to weeks. You can still find 1 month's internships, but it's not so common. And the purpose of internships in Japan is for you to learn about the company and familiarize yourself with the industry. And if you have an internship at a company, even if it's just 1 week or 2 weeks internships, you kind of have a higher chance to get hired because they already know you and they're familiar with you. And I've experienced two-week internships in Japan, and I've witnessed how much companies put effort into it. Like they warmly welcome their interns, pay for their lunches, properly schedule and plan your tasks, and give you the chance to interact with employees and even managers. And the reason for that is that it's a chance for the company to appeal itself among graduates and attract as many excellent applicants as possible. So just a note here that summer internships are sort of more important because some companies don't offer winter internships, and if they do, it's just 1 day. So for summer internships, in order to get one, you will first have to find your companies of interest. If you're not familiar already with the companies in your field, you can ask your senpais because they already went through this, or your lab mates who are going through this, or your professors. You can also find information about companies through job hunting sites, which I'll be introducing later on. You can search through field, deadline, internship duration, etc. Once you've found your companies, the companies that you would like to apply for, you can start your application process, either directly through the company's website or through job hunting sites, or through your university. In my case, Kyoto University would send us, each department would send their students internship offers, and you can get information from that, or you can go directly to your admin, like the office at your university, or you can apply through your professor, which means like your professor would introduce you to some company, and just ask for help. Like, you never know, some professors are very, very willing to help with that. The thing is, if you officially apply and are not just directly introduced, you would have to submit an entry sheet, even though if it's not a job, it's just an internship, but you'd still have to submit an entry sheet which contains questions about yourself, your motivation, your research. And I'll be explaining internship entry sheets later on, but I would just recommend that you apply in Japanese. It's just a recommendation. You don't have to do the impossible, but you can still try and ask for help to fill the entry sheet in Japanese. And the reason I'm insisting on that is because in Japanese companies, not everyone in HR is comfortable using English. So there's a high chance that an English application may be ignored. And later on, for the internship itself, you can just ask for it to be conducted in English. So it's just important for the company that you're doing the effort to apply in Japanese. And moving on to winter internships. You missed on summer internships, you can still catch up. Here, like, the application is not strict. I don't think you would be needing to fill entry sheets and go through this process, but anyone can register because they're usually short. They're like just 1 day internship. And the advantage is that you can learn about the company in the shortest time possible. And you can ask the employees many questions, including overtime work, and they're usually very honest about it. And the flow of the day is that if it's 1 day, it's an introduction of the company in the morning, a group work in the afternoon, and when you finish with that, you'll have an employee roundtable where you will get to meet the employees working in that company and ask them all sorts of questions that you like. So I spoke about job hunting websites earlier, and I'd like to introduce the most popular ones. There is MyNavi and there is Rikunavi. And just to note that these websites are for newly graduated students. So if you If you're newly graduated and like you don't have a significant job experience, then you can apply through these websites. But if you graduated from your master's or PhD, but you have a past working experience, so you don't want to be starting from zero, you want your experience to be considered, there is still that option. Because each company's website would have a section for applicants that are freshly graduates and applicants that are, they call them like mid-career. And in that case, I would recommend that you apply mid-career, because then your experience will be considered in your salary and in your terms of employment, etc. So yeah, back to the job hunting sites, which are for newly graduated students. There's MyNavi, and this is funny because this is actually MyNavi 2023 does not exist yet, because people graduating in 2023, their job hunting hasn't started yet. But I'm just putting it here because you will need it in summer, like this summer, for applying for summer internships. So like if you use this to apply for summer internships this summer, the website, the same link will follow you through your whole internships and job hunting processes until next year. And for 2022 graduates, you can use this website right now. Sorry, like I haven't updated this presentation because you can currently apply for winter internships. Actually, you can't now because it's March already. And this website will follow you through your job hunting process. Like you can actually now, because it's March, you can just start applying, giving out your entry sheets and going for interviews, etc. And there's also Rikunabi, which is quite nice as well. So I'd like to maybe show you how these websites work. Wait a second. Yeah, so this is MyNavi 2022. If I were to translate it to English, you'll get this. And you can search for companies by industry, like, for example, chemistry, petroleum, or like area, for example, Kanto and Tokyo, right? And then search by occupation, you can search by recruitment method. There's just a lot of options, and then you just search and you get all your results down here. And then here, translate to English again. You can just press entry and go ahead with the process. So just to summarize what we've done so far, we've explained summer internships and then winter internships, and then the job hunting websites, which you could be using to apply for these internships as well as for actual jobs. And next I'll be moving to explaining the job hunting process itself. The first way, I call it the easy way because GLPT N3 or below may be okay. First, you can get a job with the university recommendation. So some universities, in my case, Kyoto University had this. They have some partnerships with some companies where the company would be like, we have 3 job offers this year, give us 3 students for those jobs. And there is a list of that. There's a bunch of companies and the number of spots they offer, with the professor in charge of job hunting in your department or with the office of your department. And the advantage of that is that if there is no competition and among the students and you get a spot, it means less job hunting procedures, like you can skip directly to the interview phase and an guaranteed application because your company, your university has your back. And yeah, like there's 90% chance that you can get that job. The thing is that you cannot back off because once you're committed, once you accept the job offer and you go, like once you go through this process, it's hard to back off because it's university recommended. And the second way is to do it with your professor's help. Again, just make it clear that you're trying to find a job in Japan. and just ask for their help because they have a lot of, their network is huge and they have a lot of connections. Or through networking, job hunting fairs, LinkedIn. In this case, you just have to do some research and see how it goes. Well, the thing is that there could be some for this process I'll be explaining later, like the Japanese way of job hunting is mainly for Japanese companies. There could be some multinationals where you can just go to the website, apply your CV in English, and have interviews in English any time of the year. It doesn't matter if it's in April or May, etc. So consider, of course, that there's those options as well, and do some research. And now I'd like to be explaining job hunting the Japanese way. And first of all, I'd just like to state the advantages is that if you do job hunting this way, then you are hired as a permanent employee, or like if you do it another way, or like just randomly send your CV, you can be hired as a permanent employee, but you may also be hired as a contract employee. And the advantage of a permanent employee is the bonuses. Like if a company has a bonus, an end-year bonus system, then you'll be getting that, while contract employees don't get bonuses. And the second advantage is longer visa. Your visa will be 3 years or 5 years, while on a contract, your visa will just be the duration of that contract. And for the Japanese way, the Japanese level requirements, again, it depends. I mean, when I did the process, I had the GLPT N2, and that made things a lot easier, but it really depends. Like if it's a multinational and you'll be using English throughout your job, then maybe they will not care about your Japanese. So now I'll be getting to the step-by-step process of this type of job hunting. The first step, which is from February to April, it's entry. You will look for the company on MyNavi and press entry, just like we did earlier, or go directly to the company's website, because some companies don't have don't have a page on MyNavi. You can just apply through their websites. And in both cases, you will follow the procedure and create what is called My Page on the company website. And again, I would recommend that you apply for 7 to 10 companies so that you increase your chances of getting a job. And when I mentioned earlier Japanese GLPT N2, none of the companies actually said, can you give us your N2 certificate? They just need to know that you're able to go through the process in Japanese, and like if they see that you can handle it, then no questions will be asked, I guess, in most cases. And the second step is company briefing sessions, which are held from February to April. And again, you will, like once you've created My Page, you will book a company briefing session through My Page. They're usually just 2 hours. So like if you missed on the summer and winter internships, that's totally all right, because you can still learn about companies through these company briefing sessions. And it's like even better in a way because it's just 2 hours and it's in all big cities. Like you'll have, like there could be one in Osaka, Nagoya, Tokyo. And it goes like company introduction, information about the application process and the deadlines, and then an employee roundtable where you can ask employees about like questions about the job. So you get the whole package in just 2 hours. So I think it's a really nice thing about job hunting in Japan is that they offer such a thing. So just book as many as you can and go for it. So you've went through step 2, you've booked the company briefing sessions, and you're very interested in the company and would like to apply for it. In this case, you'll move to step 3, which is the entry sheet submission through My Page. Personally, entry sheet submission was the hardest part of my job hunting process because I've never had to write kind of long, relatively long texts in Japanese. So don't hesitate to ask people around you for help, to help you check the grammar or like translate some difficult parts for you. And also remember that there is a trick to answering each question. You can look up how to answer entry sheet questions by Googling them. But here I'm going to show you the most commonly asked entry sheet questions. The first one is 自己 PR をしてください. Tell us about yourself. Here you'll show your appeal and your strong points. Strong point. The trick is that you don't want to talk about like a lot of many strong points. You'll just be focusing on one or two, and you'll be explaining where you show these strong points. You'll be relating an experience or an achievement. The second question is 研究テーマを記入してください. Tell us about your research. The third question is 当社に希望する理由を記述してください. Tell us about your motive for applying to our company. Well, there's no trick to that. I mean, sure you know why. And the fourth question is 学生時代力を入れて取り込んだことを記述してください. What have you worked hard for in your student life? Here you'll be relating an experience, the process of it, the result, and what you learned from that experience. That experience can be your research, part-time job, club activity, volunteering, studying abroad, etc. And after you've gone through this, submitted your entry sheets, come the SPI test, web test. Ooh, the thing is, for the SPI test, it's kind of something that you have to prepare for. So in January or February, before you even start the entry sheet process, you can get books from Book Off, your lab, bookstores. This is just a screenshot that I got from Amazon. They may have English versions as well, I'm not sure. And it's important to practice the questions because the time limit is small and you'll need to get used to, for the non-verbal part, where there's calculation and logic, you'll need to get used to doing mental calculation in a short time. So the place is, this test will be conducted in the company's headquarters in a test center, just like if you're taking a TOEFL or a TOEIC test, you can book it through a test center or online from home. It can be after or at the same time as your entry sheet submission. And like I said, preparation for the test should start in January and February. It takes a while to get a hold of the types of questions asked. And the test contains two parts. The first one is higengo, the non-verbal part, calculation, logic. And again, it's important to practice answering within a time limit. And then the second part is gengo, Japanese language. And this part is actually quite difficult. If you don't have a GLPT N1, even if you have a GLPT N1, it's hard to answer these because they are Japanese language questions targeting Japanese students. So don't stress about it. Most of the time, I just answered these questions randomly and got away with it. It's actually the first part, this one, that matters the most and that you should be given importance to, and you want to leave a good impression on that. But for the Japanese, most employers know that it's difficult for us to answer those questions. In some cases, these are not the only parts. There's sometimes in SPI tests, there is English, and sometimes there is kind of personality test where they will be asking how you would act in different kind of situations, etc. And again, some companies can offer this in English, so just make sure that you ask. The next type of test is an essay test. not all companies have it, but if they do, they will have it the same day as the SPI test, if the SPI test is at the company's headquarters. And some have it the same day as your first interview, so you'll be just going, doing your essay test and taking your interview right after that. And some don't have it at all. So this is from, the format is, it's from a 1 to 2 A4 pages, either about a problem in the field of the company or about yourself. Like the question would be, it could be about yourself, which would probably be much easier to answer. And the language of the test, just make sure you ask. Sometimes English is okay. And I would say that it's better to answer it fully in English than just give out a blank paper or just write very, very few sentences in Japanese, because you will definitely fail in that case if you don't answer it seriously. So, come the interview process. If your entry sheet was accepted, you will be called for an interview. There's a series of interviews which start with the first interview, ichiji mensetsu. It's usually individual, like it will be just you and a panel of 3 to 4 interviewees. And I advise you to look up questions that are usually asked and prepare answers in advance, especially if you were going to challenge this interview and do it in Japanese. You will need to have some main things memorized, especially questions about your research. Which won't go in detail. Actually, they just want to learn the basics of your research. They also want to learn about, they want to know about your personality. They want to know why you want to work in Japan, why you want to work for that company. And yeah, sometimes after this interview will come a group interview where you will be interviewed with a bunch of students. But that wasn't the case for me. I moved directly to the last interview, which is called Yakuin Mensetsu. Yeah, the thing is that the first interview, you would usually have it with the heads of the department. Like if there's a certain department in the company where you're that's interested in your application and your skills, that person will definitely be present on that interview. And the second interview is with the big bosses of the company. That's why it's called Yakuin. Yakuin is I don't know the English translation for that, but yeah, let's just say it's the big bosses. It may seem stressful, but it's actually not stressful as much as the first one, because at this stage, your chances of recruitment are pretty high. And the panel of this interview asks you, well, they're not very, very interested in the technical parts. They ask you like more laid back questions about what you like in Japan, your personality, and why your motivation for working for them and what they will gain from you, as well as your engagement, like if you're staying in Japan, your future plans, etc. So you get through that interview, you get that phone call or that email that you passed, and that would be considered as receiving the Nightday. The Nightday, which is an informal job offer, which is done by email or by phone. After receiving the Nightday and accepting it, also informally, you'll receive the contract by postmail to sign and send back. And in October, you'll be invited to the Nightday Shiki on October 1st, which is a ceremony where you officially receive your Nightday certificate. And it's a thing that almost all Japanese companies would have this on October 1st. This year, it could be done remotely. I'm not sure, but if it was done on the headquarters, make sure to catch your seat on the bus or on the Shinkansen, because everyone else is having this ceremony as well on the same day. So the trains tend to get crowded. And one thing is that if you were to back off from a job offer, like if you found something better, it's very important that you do it before the Nightday Shiki, because once you officially accept the Nightday and attend the Nightday Shiki, it's very frowned upon to just back off after that. Yeah, and I wish you the best of luck for your procedure, for your job hunting process. And thank you very much for your attention.